Hello, Professor. This is Sylvie in Scotland, and this is my final term here at Valencia, and I'll be graduating with a bachelor's degree in software development. And today I'll be talking about my Red Hat mentorship that I did this term. And so a little bit about the mentorship. I was working with Red Hat this term, and we worked a lot with Ubuntu virtual machines, uh, using the Manila commands, and we used like OpenStack, Git, Manila, and Garrett. Garrett was used for like reviewing code that was pushed and things like that. Manila was like the commands that we were using, and Git was mostly used to push the changes and stuff updated so that everyone can see it when it was needed. And we constantly were updating people's work using Git through GitHub and Garrett. And my task this term mostly was fixing in the Ubuntu itself when you were going through it. When you created subnets, which are basically like a shared network system where you get like information and stuff. The commands that you would do to create them were not the ones in the GitHub. So we went ahead and had to update them and change them. So first, I would have created a shared network system and made sure I could do it within the virtual machine, and then I used the commands that were working and updated it in the GitHub. Because the ones in there were outdated. And so the tools we used were Ubuntu/Linux virtual machines. Used a little bit of Python there because the code was written with that when I went into the GitHub to update and change it. We used GitHub, of course, to push the changes, and Garrett and Launchpad to actually review the work and to make sure it was good, which I'm glad I did because there were actually some errors the first time that I did it. And we used PyCharm as well as OpenDev. In terms of the implementation and a lot of the things I learned, this is my first time working with Ubuntu. I've never worked with it before, so it was very interesting getting to like kind of learn some of the ins and outs and commands and things like that when working with it because it's not something I'm familiar with. I've actually never worked with a virtual machine either until this, so it was very interesting to get to use that and set it up with like the SSH keys and things like that. It was very interesting. And this was also my first time using Garrett, which was awesome to kind of get a feel of how it works to work with like the OpenStack community. It was a very interesting experience seeing and reviewing people's code and things like that. And some of the findings when I first sent it, there were a couple of like grammar issues and things like that. So I had to go ahead and redo and just kind of adjust a couple of those things and actually push them back to Garrett. And then they said the next time it was good to go and I was all set. So it really helped me kind of learn what it was like to work with like a team of people on something in the like a workflow, and it was very interesting and rewarding. I felt because I've never got to do that in the coding space yet, so that was very interesting. And also to work with the open source community was very interesting. I mean, we did face a couple of technical challenges. My virtual machine actually was not working for the first few weeks. I was able to like connect to it, but it wasn't able to actually create the shared network subnet. So we had issues with that. We were trying to figure out use different things like Nano to go into it and see if it was missing like certain files or things needed. But even after we checked for a couple of times, we just decided to just delete that virtual machine and use another one, and then that wind up solving the problem. We actually figured out that the trouble after troubleshooting it, the issue was when we were installing the stuff for it, it must have cut off for 1 second, and then that wound up making it where it was missing some important information, so it couldn't properly work when I was trying to do certain commands with Manila with it. And actually, when I was trying to push it to GitHub, we had another issue where it actually wasn't the registry kind of wasn't lined up with where it was. So when I was trying to send it to push it through to GitHub, it actually wasn't registering at all. And then even when it was updated and I had to review the changes that people requested that I made, when I went back and pushed it again the directory was all messed up. So I actually had to adjust the directory to make sure everything was working. But after that, we were all set. I didn't really have any other technical issues with that. But yeah, there was a lot of successes as well as disappointments. Again, the task that I was given to update the shared network command list was completed. It took a while, but I was able to actually do it, and I was proud of myself for doing that in an environment I never worked in before. Having the work reviewed and adjusted and then also accepted the second time was very rewarding, I think, and cool. This is kind of work with other people. There were a couple disappointments, unfortunately. We started to get really into things like schemas and stuff right near the end, though, but unfortunately, it was near the end, so time was super limited. We weren't really able to kind of do more projects with that. So unfortunately, I felt like Rad's about to get to the really nitty gritty stuff. We kind of didn't get a chance to get to it, which is unfortunate. Yeah, so I wanted to kind of work more involved projects and things like that. So those are the only disappointments I have working in the mentorship. If I had to do it over, I think I would probably contact my mentors sooner about issues instead of me just trying to waste a lot of hours troubleshooting when I'm not really sure what's going on. I think just have contacted them early so I can get them fixed and possibly even get to more projects sooner would have been the better way. So I think that's what I would do if I had to do this over, and just try my best to get those projects done ahead of time. Like maybe either or usually all due like within a week or a week or two out. I could have just went ahead and maybe get them done early and email them to say, hey, I'd like to get another project, like, because I'm done with this. I think I would have gone the extra mile. But yeah, that has been my project, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.